What if the most horrifying thing in a horror movie was completely intentional? Released in 2019 by Veronica France and Severine Fiala, The Lodge disguises itself as slow-burn horror, but underneath, it's a ruthless experiment in psychological cruelty. This isn't a film that wants to scare you with jump scares or monsters in the dark. It wants to sit with you, quietly, until discomfort becomes unbearable. It demands your empathy and then punishes you for giving it. Today, we're unpacking why The Lodge feels so merciless, how it turns grief into a weapon, faith into a noose, and why its ending doesn't shock you, it condemns you. The movie starts with a suicide. It's sudden, violent, no warning, just loss. Because The Lodge is fundamentally about what happens when trauma is never properly processed, only buried. Richard, the father, is arguably the real villain here. He tries to force a new family dynamic by bringing his kids and his new girlfriend, Grace, to a remote cabin. It's a classic horror setup, but the tension doesn't come from a masked killer. It comes from the fact that these children hate Grace, and they have every right to. To them, Grace isn't just the other woman, she's a survivor of a Christian extremist suicide cult. She's a walking reminder of their mother's replacement. The film uses tight, claustrophobic frames to show us that Grace is an interloper. She's navigating a house filled with the belongings of a dead woman, trying to win over children who are weaponizing their own mourning. Let's talk about the visual language. Notice how often the camera mimics the perspective of a dollhouse. That's not a coincidence, it's a thematic statement. In The Lodge, the characters have no agency. They are being moved by forces larger than them: grief, memory, and maybe providence. The house itself is a character. It's freezing, it's wooden, and it's filled with religious imagery that triggers Grace's PTSD. When the power goes out and their belongings vanish, the movie shifts from psychological drama into a gaslighting masterclass. The kids convince Grace that they are all dead, that they are in purgatory. And because of Grace's background, she doesn't just fear they're right, she believes it. This is where the movie gets truly mean. It's not a haunting by a spirit, it's a haunting by a narrative. Riley Keough is incredible here. She plays Grace not as a crazy woman, but as someone whose every hesitation, every hollow stare feels earned, as if she is constantly bracing for a world that keeps proving her right to be afraid. The kids think they're playing a prank. They think they're punishing the woman who stole their dad. But they don't realize that Grace's sanity was held together by a very thin thread of medication and routine. By taking that away, Aiden and Mia aren't just being mean kids, they're effectively performing an exorcism on a woman who was already hollow. When Grace starts crawling through the snow or burning her knees in the fireplace to repent, the horror becomes physical. We aren't watching a ghost story anymore. We're watching a nervous breakdown in real time. The ending of The Lodge is one of the bleakest in modern cinema. There is no redemption. No one learns a lesson. The film denies us catharsis because it would be dishonest. Richard arrives too late, and the prank culminates in a cycle of violence that feels biblically inevitable. The final shot, the four of them at the table, the sin tape, suggests that the cult Grace escaped never actually left her. It just waited for the right environment to bloom again. Indoctrination doesn't vanish when you escape it. It sleeps, dormant, until trauma gives it permission to wake up. It's a cold, cruel, and brilliant film that reminds us that sometimes the things we do to process our pain end up destroying everyone around us. Were the kids the villains, or were they just victims of a father's neglect? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.